All right, so first up we are making a chicken tomato tortellini slow cooker soup, and I'm pretty excited about this one because I feel like it's going to be pretty family slash kid friendly. My kids really like either ravioli or tortellini, so I think it'll be a good deal. Okay, so I have some spices here. I also need to grab some salt and pepper. I have some onion powder, some crushed red pepper, and some oregano. I've got some chicken thighs. I'm actually going to use half of these for this soup and half of them for another recipe we're going to be making. I've also got some garlic paste. I really love using this chunky garlic paste. You can get this in the produce section. It is super quick in terms of you don't have to peel and mince a bunch of garlic, and I find that it's really good quality. I've got some balsamic vinegar, some white wine. You can leave this out if you want to, or maybe just add a tablespoon of vinegar instead. I've got some 5-cheese tortellini. I'm not going to use the whole package of this probably. I'm going to use probably a little more than half of it. The original recipe called for crushed tomatoes, but I don't have any on hand. I do have these fire roasted diced tomatoes, so I'll probably crush them up a little bit and we'll be fine. It'll be basically the same thing. Some tomato paste, and then we're going to need some chicken broth. So you guys know I always keep the Knorr chicken bouillon on hand. It's very flavorful. The only thing I will say about this is that if you do use this, it does tend to be a little bit saltier than like boxed or canned broth. So maybe cut back on the salt a little bit in your recipe, or just taste it before you add more salt. I'm gonna add both my cans of fire roasted diced tomatoes to the crock pot. These are actually pretty hard for me to find in my area. I found these randomly at the grocery store in the clearance section. So when I find them, I snatch them up. Okay, so I mashed those up a little bit. I'm not super concerned with getting them really pureed because they are gonna cook down in the slow cooker. 1/4 cup of white wine. Like I said, that'll just give it a little bit of kind of tang. I'm gonna add 2 tablespoons of tomato paste, 1 tablespoon of balsamic vinegar. If you guys don't have these little measuring cups that measure in 4 tablespoon increments, I highly recommend them. I'll link several of them down below. I always get them on Amazon. 6 cloves of garlic, which is about 6 teaspoons. Usually when you use minced garlic, a teaspoon is the equivalent of a clove. I normally just eyeball it because well, I was gonna say if there's too much garlic, but there can't be too much garlic, right? 1.5 teaspoons of oregano, 2 teaspoons of onion powder, 1/2 teaspoon of red pepper flakes. I suppose if you are really concerned about spice, you could leave that out, but I don't think that's gonna make this whole crock pot super spicy. 3 cups of water, and then I'm gonna add a little less than 3 teaspoons of the chicken bouillon powder. Alternatively, you could use 3 cups of chicken broth. Okay, I'm gonna give this a stir to make sure that everything is well combined. And we're not gonna add the tortellini until the end. It is refrigerated tortellini, so it's not gonna take long to cook at all. Okay, and then I'm gonna use chicken thighs. So I actually think that I want kind of a smaller chicken ratio in this dish, meaning I want less shredded chicken, more tortellini. So I'm just gonna add 2 chicken thighs and we're gonna use the rest for the other recipe. But I'm gonna go ahead and put the lid on this. You can cook this on high for about 4 hours or low for about 8 hours. But once it's done, we'll go ahead and add the tortellini and finish it up. All right, so the chicken is done. I'm gonna remove it from the slow cooker with just a slotted spoon. You don't necessarily have to do this, but I find it's easier to shred it that way just to make sure that I get it all. And then I was gonna use the refrigerated tortellini, but I ended up actually making that for lunch. So I have this bag of cheese tortellini in the freezer. It's gonna do the same thing. It'll probably just take a little bit longer to cook. So I'm gonna go ahead and add probably about half. Whoop. Yep, that's a little bit more than half. That's fine. Half the bag of that. Turn this up to high. I don't know, it'll probably take about 20 minutes to cook. Slow cookers really depend on how hot your slow cooker runs. And I have several different slow cookers. Once you cook with them for a while, you kind of get to know some cook slower, some cook faster. Obviously some heat at higher temperatures, so just kind of keep an eye on it. Okay, so this tortellini soup turned out so good. Highly recommend it. That 2 chicken thighs was honestly plenty for the recipe, and this is going to be great for leftovers this week. I just had to add a little bit of salt and pepper at the end, but we're gonna have it in bowls with some Parmesan cheese and fresh basil. Yum. Okay, so I'm home this week, and one of the things that I really love about being home is cooking dinner for my family every night. Second only to sleeping in my very own bed. And I have a Helix mattress, which makes it even sadder for me when I am on travel because I don't get to sleep on my Helix mattress. And Adam texts me every single morning. He's like, "Good morning, how are you?" I'm like, "Oh, my back hurts, my neck hurts. I need to get home and sleep in my own bed." But today's video is sponsored by Helix, and I have had a Helix mattress for years. In fact, everyone in my house has a Helix mattress, and every time anyone asks me, "I need a new mattress, what kind of mattress should I get?" I always say Helix. It is so easy to go on their site. You just take a sleep quiz to find out which mattress is best for you. They will match you and your partner, if you have a partner, with the best mattress for you. The mattress comes right to your door, rolled up in a box. It is literally the most convenient thing I have ever done. Gone are the days where we have to go into the mattress store and buy a mattress, which is like literally the most inconvenient thing ever. Helix makes premium mattresses and bedding that are customized to fit your needs, and they actually offer 20 unique mattresses to choose from. Helix also offers free shipping, and like I said, they deliver your mattress right to your door with free shipping in the US. And there's also a 120-night sleep trial to test the mattress out and ensure that you love it. 82% of participants saw an increase in their deep sleep cycle in Helix's Whisper sleep study. So whether you're looking for a new mattress or if you're just looking to make your existing mattress much more comfortable, you can check out both Helix's mattresses and toppers. I'll have a link in the description box below. They're offering 27% off site-wide. That is such a significant discount. So once again, check out that link in the description box below, helixsleep.com/Jen Chapin. Or if you're on the phone, you can tap the little bubble on the screen right here. Make sure you guys take advantage of this awesome sale. And thank you again to Helix for partnering with me on a video here on my channel. So next recipe is slow cooker Hawaiian pork chops. This one is super easy with very minimal ingredients. So I've got some center cut pork chops here. These are bone in, which will be best for the slow cooker so that they don't get dry. I've got a 1/4 cup of brown sugar, and then we're also going to use some low sodium soy sauce. And then this is one fresh pineapple that I just cored and cut up. We're going to use probably about 1/3 to half of this. I'm not quite sure how many of these pork chops I'm going to cook. Probably just 2 to start, and then I'll prep this for my husband and I's lunches this week with some rice. So I'm going to add my 2 pork chops to the slow cooker. I have this set on high, and we're going to combine 1/4 cup of soy sauce with the 1/4 cup of brown sugar. I'm not going to add any salt to this. Obviously, soy sauce is quite salty in and of itself, even the low sodium type that I use. Now, obviously with this recipe, if you're serving more people, go ahead and use as many pork chops as you want. If you're going to use more than 4 pork chops, I would go ahead and double the sauce. I'm going to pour that over the pork. All right, and then I'm going to add some of the pineapple on top. Okay, the lid on this, cook it on high for about 4 hours. Okay, so I'm going to transfer this into meal prep containers, but I wanted to take a picture of it. So, you know, I've got my layout set up here, but I've just got some jasmine rice that I cooked, and then the 2 pork chops with the soy pineapple glaze, I guess you could call it. There's more sauce left in the slow cooker, but super delicious, especially if you like a fruit and pork type recipe. Really good. All right, we are making honey chipotle chicken tacos. I say tacos, but obviously you could use this chicken for burritos or burrito bowls or quesadillas, whatever you'd like. So I've got 4 chicken thighs here. I'm gonna go ahead and use my little crock pot. This one only cooks on high, but that's okay. I'll cook it for about 3 to 4 hours and we'll be good to go. We're gonna use some honey. I've also got some salt, chipotles. I purchased these and they're already diced up. If you can't find these, you can obviously just kind of mash them up yourself. The normal ones come whole in adobo sauce in a can. Juice of 1 lime. I've got cumin, onion powder, garlic powder, and then 1 cup of chicken broth. Add the chicken thighs to the crock pot. And then I'm gonna go ahead and use a bowl to kind of combine everything together just to make sure it's mixed thoroughly before I put it in with the chicken. We'll pour our chicken broth in there. 3 tablespoons of honey. I'm not gonna really measure this because I don't want to dirty a measuring spoon, but I'll just eyeball it. 1, 2, 3 tablespoons. 1 teaspoon of garlic powder. I'm gonna leave the salt out because I used the Knorr chicken bouillon to make that broth. I don't want it to be too salty. And then 1/3 cup of chopped Chipotle chilies in adobo. I don't think I'm gonna measure this either. I think I'm just gonna add about half of this jar. Now you can add black beans to this recipe too, in with the chicken. I'm not gonna do that because I have a kid that doesn't care for beans. And so in case I wanna use this for, you know, tacos for the kids or quesadillas or something like that, then I will be able to. Lastly, the juice of 1 lime. Okay, and that's it, super simple. This actually smells really good already. So I'm gonna pour this over the chicken. I probably could have done with a little less chicken broth, but that's okay. We'll have plenty of sauce. And then I'll let this cook until the chicken is super tender and cooked through, and then we'll shred it up. You can use chicken breast for this also. I've been really liking to use chicken thighs in slow cooker recipes because I just find that it doesn't dry out quite as much. All right, so I've let this chicken cool a bit. I'm gonna remove it to a bowl so it's easier to shred. When I shred this, if there's any like big pieces of fat, I will remove those. But for the most part, when you get boneless, skinless chicken thighs, there's not too much fat on them. I love this recipe because I really love the combination of the honey and the chipotle. I just think it's so good. And since the chicken kind of cooks in that sauce, it just gets super, super flavorful. Okay, we'll return this. Okay, I'm just gonna give this a stir and then I'll show you how I'm gonna serve it. Okay, so I am having this honey chipotle chicken on some corn tortillas. I like to blister them up on the gas stove, and I just like put some very simple toppings on these. Onion and cilantro, a little bit of Mexican sour cream, and some cheese. This chicken is also really, really good in burrito bowls because it's got that saucy chipotle on it. I would say if you're gonna make this for kids, maybe cut down and use half the chipotle. It is a little spicy, but chipotles, you know, aren't super spicy. They're more smoky. But I think it's delicious. Okay, so super excited for this recipe. It's Zesty bacon cheeseburger pasta. So I've got a pound of ground beef here. This is lean ground beef. You technically don't have to brown this prior to putting it in the slow cooker, but I prefer to. So I just brown this on the stove with a little bit of salt. And then you need a 1/4 cup of bacon bits. I had some pre-cooked bacon that was left over from breakfast a couple days ago in the fridge. So I just went ahead and diced that up. We'll add 1 cup of cheddar cheese at the end. And then I've got 1 can of tomatoes with green chilies. This is like Rotel. I always get the mild one because I find the other ones are honestly way too spicy. 1 can of cream of chicken soup. I've got some dried minced onion, some dry mustard. We're gonna use some beef broth. And then for pasta, you can use regular elbow noodles. I'm gonna use the Fiber Gourmet light elbows. This is honestly the best low calorie pasta that I've tried. It's not low carb, but it's only about half the calories of regular elbow pasta. And so I think it tastes, I mean, I can't even tell when I use this between regular pasta. It's really good. To my slow cooker, I'm gonna add the cooked ground beef. I'm sure you could use ground turkey if you wanted to for this recipe as well. I'm gonna add my cooked bacon. I feel like it's been a while since I've showed you guys this can opener, so I'm gonna show it again. This is the Kitchen Mama can opener. It basically takes the lid off of your cans so there's no sharp edges. And it's also hands-free. So if you have a bunch of cans to open up, it's actually super helpful because you can kind of put it on here and then just walk away. And then you don't have to stand there hand cranking, open a bunch of cans. I'll link that can opener down below. I got mine on Amazon. It's super fun to use. The kids like to use it too. I'm gonna add 2 tablespoons of dried minced onion, 1 tablespoon of dry mustard powder. We're gonna add our tomatoes. You do not need to drain them. Then the cream of chicken soup. If you want to, you could use like the Healthy Request low sodium. I'm just using regular old Campbell's. Okay, now the thing about this particular pasta is that it comes in 8-ounce boxes instead of 16-ounce boxes. And so I'm actually going to be using less pasta than the original recipe calls for. The original recipe calls for a pound of dried elbow noodles. So what I'm gonna do to kind of correct for that is I'm going to cut the beef broth in half. If I need more liquid, I can always add it later. So I'm gonna add a little over 1.5 cups of water. And then since I need beef broth, I'm gonna go ahead and use the Knorr beef bouillon. So about 1.5 teaspoons of that. All right, so I do wanna give this a stir, make sure everything is combined. Now, obviously the beef is already cooked here. So, you know, it's just gonna kind of heat up and get a little bit more tender. You know, the whole point of this is obviously if you put the beef raw into the slow cooker, then it would cook inside the sauce. But like I said, I just prefer to cook mine ahead of time, especially with this super lean ground beef. You really don't, you know, you don't necessarily have to. It's just kind of a personal preference thing. All right, so I'm gonna put the lid on this. I have this on high. It's probably only gonna take a couple hours. All right, so for the cheeseburger pasta, this is done. It's super hot, I'm trying not to burn myself. I'm gonna add my 1 cup of cheese, which is about half this bag. And my noodles. I'm gonna give this a stir. I think we may have to add a little bit more water or broth. We'll just kind of see here as it cooks. All right, I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add probably about, we'll start with 1/2 cup of hot water, and I think that'll be enough to cook the pasta. This will probably take 20 to 30 minutes. Again, it's just gonna depend on how hot your slow cooker cooks, how, you know, what kind of pasta and what size of pasta you're using, all of that, but just keep an eye on it. You obviously can cook dry pasta in the slow cooker. It takes longer than the stove, clearly, but usually it's anywhere between 20 and 30 minutes. Okay, so I know this doesn't look like much, okay? I never said this was gonna be a pretty dish, but it tastes really good. It's like, if you like bacon cheeseburgers with a little bit of spice, it's almost just like a hamburger helper. This batch makes a ton, so I can't even imagine what it would be like if I put in 16 ounces of pasta. It would probably overflow the slow cooker. But I am going to put some shredded cheese on top and some green onions. Here it is. Super yum. Super yum. I almost said super young. Super yum. Not super young. Okay, so let me know out of these 4 recipes which ones you guys are interested in trying. I'll have all of the recipe information in the description box below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.